Welcome to From the Den podcast, providing Bears and NFL fans alike with compelling news, discussion, and debate. I'm your co-host Benjamin, joined alongside my dear friend and co-host Oren.
Hey Benjamin, let's get right into it. As always, kickoff starts now.
Oren, is Mitchell Trubisky officially a bust?
No. And I'll tell you why he's not. Because he's the type of player who can come into this year and really just elevate his game. He's the type of player who one game will play, wow, he looks like a very good quarterback. There have been plenty of those games. The Buccaneers game 2 years ago. Lions game 2 years ago. This year, the Cowboys game. You could even say the Redskins game he played well. And there are those few games where he looks like a great quarterback. But all the other games, he looks like a bad quarterback. And now I'm not saying that he will become this consistently good quarterback. But I'm saying is you can't write him off already because he does have that potential. And he's shown that he is capable of being this elite quarterback. But most of the time he's not good. He doesn't play very well. But he's shown multiple times over and over that he can be that elite quarterback. And you can't write him off so early, especially considering you don't know what will happen this year. Maybe he'll get the motivation that he needs to really, really elevate his game to a point where he's playing consistently like he does in the Buccaneers games, the Lions games, the Redskins games, all those games that he plays elite. And that's what I hope happens. And I'm not sure it will happen, but for the small chance that it may, you can write it off already.
I agree with you mostly, but I'm more negative on Trubisky. I believe that there's a 90% chance, a 75% chance that he becomes a bust. And while he did show some potential, it's really not enough for me to not write him off as a bust. At the end of this season, it'll really be more telling than at the end of this season, because there's a lot of questions up in the air that we will hopefully answer by the end of these two episodes about the quarterback position. But halfway through the season, Trubisky might not even be starting, or maybe even at the start of the season. So if that happens, I think that it's fair to say that Trubisky's a bust, but especially for the amount of picks that they gave to select this player, that also adds on to the reason why he would be a bust. If they had taken Trubisky in the third round, let's say, then no, I wouldn't write him off just yet. But it adds insult to injury for how much they gave up for this mediocre player at best.
Yeah, so I will agree that they gave up so much. They even traded up from the third pick to the second pick. And taking a quarterback at the third pick is a huge step. Taking one at the second pick is even bigger. But the fact that they needed to trade up and give 2 third-round picks, which could be very valuable. And what happened is that not only did they trade up for him, they passed on Mahomes and Watson. And now, don't get me wrong, I'm not saying Trubisky is this amazing player. What I'm saying is that Trubisky is getting more hate than he deserves. And now, don't get me wrong, I do believe that he's not an amazing quarterback. He's below average quarterback at best. But what I will say is that he could become a good quarterback. And everyone only sees him not for the quarterback he is, but they see him as the quarterback that the Bears traded up to get instead of Watson or Trubisky or Watson or Mahomes.
So if I understand you correctly, the fact that he was taken in a draft with all these greater talents than him just makes him seem worse than if he were a standalone player?
Yeah, 100%. And I think that if he were drafted in a draft maybe, let's say even last year, 2 years ago, where there was Darnold and Josh Allen, all these players, he wouldn't even seem that bad. And my point is that it's because he goes into this city that hasn't had a winning franchise in a long time. He doesn't do it himself, but him, a great defense, a good coach, and a good team around him bring them to a 12-4 season, unexpected year. They go into the playoffs and they lose on a game-winning kick. And there was just this expectation of Trubisky's going to take the next step this year. He's going to be able to elevate their team. And it felt like everything was going right for him. And then everything went badly. And now everyone, instead of looking at the positives, everyone's starting to look at the negatives. And now don't get me wrong, he didn't have an amazing season. But if you look at it, he had a completion percentage of 83. He threw for 17 touchdowns, 10 interceptions. and he threw 3,138 yards, which again is not amazing stat line by any means.
Yeah, none of those stats are great.
None of those stats are great, but what I'm saying is that when you hear, if you heard about Trubisky without hearing any of his stats, what would you assume? 70 passer rating, 14 touchdowns, 14 interceptions, something way worse than what he did. And what I'm saying is that he may have had a bad year, but I think that he still has the potential to be good. And now let's not get this wrong. He may not have had an amazing year, but he threw 24 touchdowns, 12 interceptions, and 96 passer rating in 2018. He ran a lot. He had a good aspect of his game in the running. And I think that even that went away. And I think his confidence went down. And I think maybe him being behind Foles and winning the job and having the coaches show their utmost faith in him will really make his confidence higher and make him feel like I need to play well to help this team.
If you enjoyed this episode of From the Den, please remember to subscribe, comment, and like this video.
Or, if you're a Packers fan, remember to dislike and leave a nasty comment. Click the links on the screen to access additional content.